Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Teas. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Teas at dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guest and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a father and a daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all our dads and their daughters. Thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Once again, make sure you listen, like, subscribe, and share to the podcast. Don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else. We are newly into this podcast. This is only episode 9. We're just getting started, so I've had a lot of great guests, and I'm going to have some more. So make sure that you guys are subscribed to the podcast. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, to our YouTube channel. We are share a channel with our partner podcast, which is the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. And if you go to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast on YouTube and subscribe there, you will see the playlist for the Deal to Heal podcast. And then you'll also see the playlist for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Like I said, we're working the kinks out. You know what I'm saying? We're just getting started. Got to give my intro and everything, the way I like it. But we're here. We're here. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, and I hope that I don't mess your name up. But I'm gonna try to say it one time. Shafiq, is that right?
Perfect.
Yeah, see, I got it. Good. Now I ain't gonna say it no more because I'm already gonna mess it up. So first of all, do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners. Let us know who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, thank you. First, if you don't mind, I always like to give praise to God first. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu salam ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. All praise be to God. And we praise him, we thank him, and we seek his forgiveness, and we follow the practices of the previous prophets that guide us. It's a pleasure that you have invited me, Ernest, and I've seen your podcast. I have subscribed, and you're doing great work, and I appreciate you inviting me. I'm a proud daddy, not father, of Tiaqua L.A. Roberts. a semi-famous young lady in the South there in Atlanta, and she does a lot of national, international motivational work, speaking with people and helping and whatnot. And she's done quite well for herself. And I like to hope I have benefited her for being a male role model in her life.
All right, all right. So first of all, let me say thank you for being on. You could have been doing anything else, but you are here with me today and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So I want you to know that. And speaking of LA, I had her on the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. She was a guest on, and during our conversation, it probably was after, either before or after we actually started recording. I shared
Mm-hmm.
with her about the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, and she mentioned you, and I said, well, I would love to have him on, um, just to kind of talk, to have them the daddy conversations, right? So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not mistaken, you have two daughters, right? Not just LA, but you have two daughters.
Absolutely. I have two daughters. Um, I have been raising Tiaqua uh, since I was 18 years old, and she was 5. And I entered into a marriage uh, uh, and took her in, and she looked at me with her beautiful little eyes and said, "Will you be my daddy?" I told her it would be an honor, and we've been daddy and daughter ever since.
Okay, and then what about your other daughter?
My other daughter, Sajda Rafiqullah, she's doing quite well. She's married and has children of her own.
All right, all right. So you said you came into your daughter's life. She was 5 already, which means
Yes,
obviously you're a stepdad, right?
yes,
So not.
yes.
I know we don't necessarily like to use the word step, but
Mm-hmm,
I point that out because I'm a stepfather.
mm-hmm,
My only biological child is my daughter, but I have
mm-hmm.
4 stepsons, and I always give honor and praise to stepfathers because they stepped up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so, and then plus, I know how that journey can be sometimes. You
Oh yeah.
know, you know what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying? And so, I definitely like to point that out and
Mm-hmm,
give honor, to the stepfathers that step up, um, or step in, right? Because I depending on your background, some people
mm-hmm,
say, well, you stepped up when daddy wouldn't step up, whatever. But in my life and how I raised my sons is I always told them, I didn't come to take your dad's place. I'm just
mm-hmm,
standing in until he gets here. Right. And so I always left that door open, for
mm-hmm,
whenever he, came around, or when he did have time to be there, that it was no problem. Like, hey, come on, these your sons. I'm only
mm-hmm,
here because you can't physically be here, all the time. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? And so I'd always like to say that oh, what happened?
I hear you quite
Oh,
well.
okay. Now my screen went black all of a sudden. I'm like, oh no, I thought I lost everything. But yeah, and so I always like to make that distinction, that even as stepfathers, where I'm, give honor for those stepfathers that step into that position, that we're not trying to take the father's place. We're just there until he shows up, because our goal should always be for the biological father to actually be the father that he's supposed to be. And
Sure.
so I always like to
Absolutely.
point it out. So
Absolutely.
got a couple questions. So
Mm-hmm,
when I would have a girl dad on the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, I always
mm-hmm,
ask them 2 questions, which is how this podcast came to be. And those 2 questions is, what does it mean for you to be a girl dad? And then what is something that your daughter has taught you? So let's try to answer those 2 questions.
mm-hmm. Well, um, I will say what it means for me is that I was blessed with the honor of being being a role model in my daughter's life. My father was everything to me. My father was my hero, And right into adulthood, I was blessed with someone who wanted, me to be their male role model and have them look at me similarly. And I took it seriously, and I took it as an honor to take on that role. We don't besmirch biological fathers. There was a time in Tiako's life where she wanted to change her last name to Waishe, my previous last name, and I told her no. God says in the Quran to refer to them by the names of their fathers. So keep your last name Roberts, so that you can continue your father's lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Later, got to know him. He came back into her life later, a handful of years back, and it turned out to be a really good conversation and relationship between him and I. That he was pleased with how I, stepped in and did my job as a male role model for Tiako. And I appreciated his comments on that, and I appreciated the mutual respect we both have.
Yeah.
Answering the question towards what did she teach me? SubhanAllah. Having a daughter teaches you a lot. It's different when you have your sons. We the males, the women provide the nurturing and the men provide the structure. And it's easy for us with the boys, crack one by the back of the head and say, hey, straighten out.
Mm-hmm.
This is how we're supposed to live. Easy. With girls, that's not the case. With girls, you have to learn the emotions. You have to learn the other side of human existence, of how to deal with people on a more intellectual, more spiritual, more emotional level. And it matured me quickly because you have to be able to bring that to the table for them, for their development. And it's not as simple as do as I say, boy.
Mm-hmm.
No, for the daughter, you have to provide emotional stability and structure and love and reinforcement and guidance, and pour it all into a package that she can receive it. And so it helped me in the world on how I manage people and how I manage myself and my own behavior. When you have a daughter,
Mm-hmm.
You see the world completely different.
Yeah.
You see how you want to treat other, not only just women but people. Everyone is somebody's daughter, and you have to look at them like that's somebody's daughter. You need to treat them like that is somebody's daughter. And it gave me quick maturity at a very young age.
Yeah. And I always say to kind of piggyback on what you just said, I always say that number one, I feel that our daughters are uh, like they are the representation of the best part of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the characteristics that my daughter have of me is like she got all my good stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like she got all my good characteristics, and I just have to look at her and smile. And then on the other side of what you just said about raising daughters, I always say, even with raising sons, one of the things I just tell my son and I just tell their mom, you're raising somebody's husband. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You're raising somebody's husband, you're raising somebody's father. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure that you're raising them correctly. They can't really have that leeway and some of the things you let them get away with, they can't get away with because there are going to be people that's going to be depending on them. There's going to be
Sure.
people that they're responsible for. And if they used to getting away with stuff and have doing stuff, then that's how they going to have do their responsibilities, and those people who they are responsible for being our daughters, their daughters, should I say, or their children or their spouses, they're going to be the ones to suffer, you know.
Absolutely.
And so I definitely had to. One of the things I talk to my boys about, I have two granddaughters now, and so I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, now y'all see, you know what I mean?
Right.
Now you see what I was telling you. All
No
that
doubt.
playing
No doubt.
around and stuff, you got responsibilities now, and you
That's
got
right.
somebody that's looking up to you, you know, differently than the way you looked up to me or you looked up to
Mm-hmm.
your mom. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that daughter looks up to you as her father. That's a whole nother expectation that
It
she's
is.
expecting from you, you know, and you
Mm-hmm.
got to be able to deliver that. So one of the things you mentioned about your daughter was 5 when you came, you know, into her life at that
Mm-hmm.
time. So she was kind of out of the baby stage at that point. But how
Mm-hmm.
was that, especially since she's grown now? I want to
Yeah.
kind of just talk about the experiences, you know, as a young girl, as a little girl, and then maybe as a teenager, those kind of experiences, and then even as a grown adult woman now, with both of your daughters are, you know,
Mm-hmm.
how is that different? Because I have 5 sisters, so I know my dad, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Absolutely.
difference with each age period.
You know that psychologists say that every 7 years the person's life changes.
Mm,
Now, luckily, I caught her in that first 7 years. That first 7 years, that daughter looks up to you like you are her hero. Uh, I would like to think her grandfather, Leon Howard, and myself, we were the sole male role models in her life. We were her heroes. We were her male role models. That was it. Nothing else to be said. And that's that first 7 years. Now, from 7 to 14, that's that experimental age of their life where they're starting to get into that adolescent individual thinking and whatnot. Period. Um, we still have a heavy influence in their life, um, and we want to guide the foundations of their understanding, because that foundation is going to carry them through the rest of their life. Now, 14 to 21, like most teenagers, they think they know it all. But hopefully they think they know it all based on the foundations that you give them. So now it's more of uh, a tweaking of their ideas that they believe that they have found it, which you already instilled in them
mm,
from 0 to 7 and 7 to 14. From 21 to 28, now they are grown. Okay, and now you have to step back and become a counselor, a emotional backdrop for them to bounce things upon, but you have no influence as much on their decision making. So you have to become a guidance counselor, you know, and by then, 28 and beyond, you know, you hope all those stages that you did well carries her into her adulthood and whatnot.
okay. So that's kind of their um story or their input from the input that you put into them. But I always
Mm-hmm.
say that just as much as we're teaching them, they're also teaching us, you know, and helping us to become better person. So tell me something that, you know, you may have. Tell me how. How about this? Tell me how being a girl dad has changed you for the better, just as a person. You could say as a father, but then just as a person, or just overall.
Well, as a person, it is. Uh, I went straight from mom and dad's house to a wife and a daughter right out the gate. So yeah, you learn the importance of this tremendous role that that this child needs two sides. That mother, what she provides, and then that father, what he provides. And the vast majority of daughters, children in general, without fathers, uh, the vast majority don't succeed. They need both sides. There are specific roles that a father plays in a daughter and son's life, but particularly for a daughter, you teach them uh, things from the male perspective, so that they're not fooled by these men out here.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not, these young men and what they tell them. When you allow yourself to have them, when you have the open door policy with your children, when they talk to you, you learn how to deal with tough things to discuss, and these things help me in my professional career as I lead others in my professional capacity. You learn how to use the correct words to not offend but guide at the same time, to get a point across without it sounding harsh. Having that daughter get for me, it makes you learn a voluminous amount of vocabulary that can nourish people who are looking up to you, be it personal or professional. And so having that daughter has made me mature quickly, to the point where I can not only use this this knowledge, this newfound maturity and way to speak with her with love and affection and with encouragement and with guidance. I can use that same skill in my professional career, in my life with humans in general, and it makes me a better person, because it's not just with your sons, it's my way, the highway. It's with your daughter, it's more nuanced.
Okay. So one of the things that I talk about is when my daughter was little, she probably about 7 or 8. She had a daddy daughter dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to take her to the daddy daughter dance, right? That was something that I was kind of waiting for it to come so I could take her. But this specific time when it came up, I had to work. And so I said, all right, I'm gonna miss this one, but I'll catch the next one. Right. And so at the time of us recording this podcast episode, my daughter just turned 20. Right. There never was another one. Right. It never was the next time. So that's one of the regrets that I have, as a father, is that I didn't take that time, then to actually do that with her. One of the things that I'm planning to do, with this podcast and the success of it, is to have a annual daddy daughter dance for dads and daughters of all ages. So young, old, it don't matter. We all get together for that. But the reason why I say that, because one of the things I want to ask is, as a father, do you have, or what may be something that you regret that you did or didn't do for your daughter, that you look back now and be like, I should have did that, or maybe I shouldn't have done that?
I was heavily involved in my daughter's life. When she went to school, on my days off, I would show up in her classes. I would get permission from the teacher to sit down in the back of the class, and they were all like, "Man, your dad, man, he's always here." I heavily encouraged her, her and through her grandfather and myself, encouraged her to get into singing, and I was involved in a lot of her, of course, in the audience and whatnot, encouraging her to go forward and do well with her singing in high school. And she went on to college to do the same thing. Uh, uh, every one of her events I used to attend. Uh, there was a point in her life where her mother and we moved out of the city of Chicago into Rockford. And so there was 1 year where she was still in Chicago and we were in Rockford trying to establish, uh, a better life for her while she was with her grandparents in Chicago. Um, I can say I regret that because that's time lost. But we got it back, and we finished the remaining portion of her growth and development. I'd like to say that I'm proud that her and I had a relationship where when 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 she needed a serious talk. Um, the parent she went to, not to say anything negative to anyone else, the parent she knew she can go to was me. If it was challenging to talk about, the person she knows she can come to was me. Uh, that doesn't mean I would let her get away with anything. It's that dealing with her most of my life and knowing this challenge that how you handle a daughter uh, has helped me, uh, use those speaking skills to get through those tough times when serious talks needed to be had, and it took you to pull back the emotional side and be able to give her what she needs. Mothers will involve too much emotion into a tight subject when a father can pull back and use more prudent language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's benefited our relationship, her and I, because um, through the many things that she had went through, the many tough things she went through, she knows she can talk to me.
Okay, okay. So my next question was going to be what was or what is one of your greatest accomplishments as a father pertaining to your daughter? But I think that unless you want to add on to it, but I think that's a very good answer to that is just to be able to be that person that she can talk to. My daughter's away at college,
Mm-hmm.
and she was going through a situation
Mm-hmm.
where she needed some guidance, and I think we probably talk more now than ever. And we talked all the time, but I think now we talk even more, because of the things that she's dealing with. And so unless you want to add, something else, because again, the question was going to be, what do you think is one of your greatest accomplishments as a father, you know?
You know, as all us men know, all of us men know, what we want the most is to protect our daughter's chastity. And it's it's something that we cannot process in our minds for our daughters to be doing anything out of wedlock. It's it infuriates us. So we uh, you know I was very protective of her, and of course we had a conservative family, and she took a lot of my guidance from the conservative perspective on watching out the things that need to be watched out for these men and the things that they say and whatnot, and to be careful and see through the game.
Mhm.
And I was quite pleased at how tough she was on men. Not to allow game to seep through.
Right.
She was when she went to college, she was president or vice president of the virginity club. Uh, you know, eh, when she was in Northern Illinois University. Uh, of course, make a father proud. Um, uh, I had gotten my youngest daughter married quickly. Um, you know, 'cause, you know, I wasn't as confident in
Right,
in her
right,
in in her her strength.
right.
But there was a young man that was absolutely wonderful. I known him all his life. We're gonna get this going nice and early. Um, I'm quite pleased that that she has maintained a level of a decency that would make a father give a father ease in his heart.
All right, all right, all right. So I want to switch a little bit, switch things up a little bit, and go into our next segment, which is called "Getting to the Core." Right, and so we get into the core. We talk about the ebook, the four core, which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father, which I wrote. And to my audience, you can get um, your copy of the Core Four, which is the Core Four values that every daughter should get from her father, at ebooks by ejames.com. Make sure you guys check that out. There's also some other ebooks that's available on that website, but we're going to talk about getting to the core. So when I wrote the Core Four, I got the information from my experience as a father, for one, my experience as a son watching my father with my five sisters, and then
Mhm.
also as a young man who dated fatherless daughters, right? And so one of the part of my backstory, which is me and all of my um, relationships, what I one thing that I realized was all of my relationships, every girl or every woman I have ever talked to was a fatherless daughter, and so that uh, kind of tweaked or impressed upon me to the need or to the desire to bring some value to this topic and to that community of fatherless daughters, which is actually how I started my whole podcast journey as a fatherless daughter advocate, and people start asking me to come on their podcast to speak about it, and that's how I even got into podcasting. So long
Mhm.
journey short, but so that being said, that's where I got the core four values from. And so when we talk about the four core values, the four values are guidance,
Mhm.
affirmation, love and love and affection, and the fourth
Mhm.
one will be protection. And
Mhm.
so from your point of view of those four, which one to you was more important, or was one of the most important values that you your daughters?
Well, to say all four of them are very important. Which one is more
Mhm,
important? I don't want to cop out, but they all are equally important.
mhm,
Uh, you know, without guidance, what are we doing?
mhm,
So that is extremely important. Affirmation gives them the inner strength to be whatever they wish they can be as they grow forward. They have a loving support net, uh, that which gives them the security to go forward. The love and affection. I know a lot of people talk about the nurturing of a mother, but that father's love is different. You are the first man in his life, in her life. You
mhm,
know, before her husband, you are the man in her life. You know, and and so that all of them are equally important. And lastly, protection. If a man is not protecting his daughter, what good is he? So
mhm,
it's really hard to say which one is more important. But if you twist my arm, I would have to say guidance because because um, they're new to the world, and you know, um, mom and dad loves you, but the world does not. You know, and they need to know the ways of the world before they enter adulthood and be deceived. And this is our primary goal as fathers, to give them this guidance, so they can move forward with knowledge and protection outside of your presence.
Mhm.
So I would have to give a slight nudge to guidance.
Okay, okay. So with the core four, those were the four values that I felt was most important.
Mhm.
But if there was a fifth that you could add, what would that be?
Well, you're coming from a religious man. Uh, our purpose in life is to worship our Lord. You
Mhm.
know, and without God in your life, there truly is no structure. Um, I know everyone has their own beliefs, but within my faith tradition, Islam, it covers every facet of my life. How I go to the bathroom, how I love, how I protect, how I do anything in my life. There's a specific way to do it. Jews and Muslims have very specific ways to live. It is detailed, written in every facet of our lives. So, and if you want to have if you want to have success in the most important place, which is the hereafter,
Mhm.
you have to be successful here, which is worship and obedience to God.
Okay.
That's far more important than even the core four.
Right, right. I agree with you 100, 100. I want to thank you for being on. Thank you for taking out the time to be my guest and definitely share your story and expertise as a father. I love having these conversations because there's so much knowledge to learn from each other. Um, I was thinking about my very first uh, guest that I had is a brand new father. Uh,
Hmm.
he at the time of us recording his episode, he had just had his first child, which
Hmm.
was his daughter, and she was only
Hmm.
2 months old. You
Wow.
know, and so I love to have these because I always tell them, hey, this is where you're gonna get your knowledge. You know, what I mean, this is where you're gonna get your expertise. So, and I always think about him. And so definitely I appreciate you being on and sharing your wisdom for, you know, raising your daughters all the way to adulthood. I know he got a long way to go. Like I
We got a
said,
long way.
my daughter is 20, so I'm like halfway in the middle, going through the other transition, like you said, that every 7 years.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely appreciate it. I want you to leave us with um I want you to leave us with a word of advice for our dads or just motivation, however you see fit. And if you have some things that you want to share as far as your social media handles or anything like that, you can give that also. I'll give you a couple of seconds to kind of think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Make sure that you're checking out our websites. Go to our dealhealfulfill.org website, which is our main website, which we can find everything about both podcasts, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, this podcast. Also, we can find out about the workshops that we have and having me to come out as a speaker, being a speaker myself, or a workshop facilitator, things like that. So you can go there to find out that information. Also, go to ebooksbyejames.com where you can get your copy of the Core 4, but there are also other ebooks that are there. We have a From Males to Men, which is a mentoring ebook. We also have Forgiving Me, the 4 steps to self-forgiveness is also available, and also some other ebooks. So make sure you guys go to ebooksbyejames.com to check that out. And also make sure you subscribe to our text line by texting the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text messages about new episodes, ebook release, and event information. Last but not least, I mentioned that we have I was going to say the core four, not the core four, but we have the Forgiving Me, the 4 steps to self forgiveness ebook. One of the things that I've been blessed to be a part of is an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and things of that nature. Um, Anytime that you're listening to this a podcast episode, either one is coming up or one just passed, right? So we do them every quarter. Make sure you guys go to forgivenessmission.com to check that out. They're free. They're virtual, so you can take them at any time. Not anytime, but you can take them when they come up, and it doesn't cost you anything. Also, last but not least, I want you guys to know, I forgot to say at the beginning, but you can win $100 from the podcast, right? So how do you win $100 from the podcast? By entering our super subscriber contest. First, you must subscribe to our YouTube page, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. And after you've done that, then text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. It's ongoing and it's random. So once you're in, you're always in. You can always win and win $100 from the podcast. So that is it. Again, thank you so very much for being on. I really appreciate you taking out the time to be here with me and my listeners today. So I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much. You know, daughters are very important. They're the mothers of humanity, and for us to give them what they need, we have to give them the four core that you have, and we also have to instill in them the proper understanding of their purpose in life, which is to worship their Lord and be functioning members of society where they're obedient to their Lord. You know, it's clear. I'm sure we're all in the Abrahamic traditions, and there's clear guidance on how to live through marriage. Marriage is the institution where we find each other's needs in each other, so that we can find serenity within one another, so that we can worship our Lord. So worshiping our Lord and practicing the behaviors to please our Lord through the remembrance of what the prophets did is what guides us. So you need to find a husband or wife who is evenly yoked with you, not someone who you find attractive or whatever, evenly yoked with you, who you both have a common goal in this life and in hereafter, so that you can find commonality and live happily ever after together in the eyes of God and the serenity of your partner. And with that is the meaning of life. And hopefully you have a blessed life and a blessed hereafter.
All right. And we can't even end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you're also checking out the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, which episodes release every Wednesday. The Girl Dad Discussions podcast will be releasing every Friday or every other Friday when we start releasing. But thank you guys once again for tuning in. So until next time, until next week, we will see you later. Be blessed. Thank you.